Have you ever experienced a moment in life when everything seemed to shift, almost as if you were stepping into something new, something significant, and divinely appointed? Perhaps it was a moment where you felt uncertain about the path ahead, yet deep down you had a strong sense that you were moving towards something greater, something you were meant to do. Reflect for a moment on those times when you felt that inner nudge, when things didn't seem to align in the way you expected, but you couldn't shake the feeling that something bigger was at play. These moments often signal a deeper spiritual transition, a time when you are being guided toward your divine destiny. In this video, we'll explore the idea of entering a season of divine destiny, a time when you feel like you're walking directly into God's purpose for your life. It's that moment when God's plan starts to unfold in ways that feel unmistakable, and you begin to realize that you are on the path He has destined for you. Understanding the signs of entering this season is key to navigating it with faith, purpose, and confidence. As you begin to recognize these signs, you will be better equipped to embrace your divine calling, even when the journey doesn't immediately make sense or feel comfortable. Stepping into your divine purpose is often not a sudden, dramatic transition. Rather, it is a gradual unfolding. Sometimes it's like walking through a door that was always there but that you couldn't see until the time was right. It can feel uncertain at first, but it is the beginning of something bigger than you can fully comprehend. In this video, we will explore the key signs that indicate you are entering a season where God's plan for your life is becoming clearer. Whether it's a shift in your relationships, opportunities that suddenly open up, or an undeniable stirring in your heart, these signs will guide you toward recognizing the moment you step into your divine purpose. Stay with me as we delve into the important markers of this transformative journey and how to discern God's leading in your life. Purpose is one of the most essential elements of the human experience. It's the driving force that gives direction, meaning, and significance to our lives. In the context of faith, purpose is not merely about personal goals or ambitions. It's the divine direction and mission that God has designed for each of us. Purpose is about understanding how our lives fit into God's grand plan for the world, aligning our actions and decisions with His will, and walking the path He has prepared for us. When you're about to step into a season of divine destiny, you will often experience a profound, deepening sense of clarity about your purpose. This clarity might not come all at once or in the way you expect, but it will manifest gradually. It's a time when you start recognizing that you are being called to something bigger than your current understanding. The steps may not always be clear, and you may not know exactly where the path will lead, but the certainty of your purpose becomes stronger as you align yourself with God's will. One of the most significant signs that you're stepping into your divine destiny is an inner conviction or a growing certainty about what you are meant to do. It might feel like a quiet, persistent calling that begins to overshadow any doubts or confusion. This feeling is not simply a fleeting thought or an occasional idea. It's a deep sense of assurance that God has a plan for you, and you're beginning to see the outline of that plan. This conviction may come in the form of dreams, ideas, or a renewed passion for something you've always felt drawn to. You may feel compelled to act or step into a role that aligns with your God-given gifts and talents. This is a sign that you are on the cusp of understanding the bigger purpose for your life. Another sign that you are entering a season of divine destiny is a growing sense of alignment with God's will. As you move forward, you begin to experience more peace and confidence in the direction you're taking. Even if you can't see the entire picture, there's a growing awareness that the choices you're making and the steps you're taking are aligning with God's purpose for you. You may find that your thoughts, actions, and desires begin to reflect a deeper sense of harmony with God's will. This alignment doesn't mean that everything is clear or easy. You may still face uncertainties, but there's a reassurance in your spirit that you are on the right path, even if the journey is not fully defined. This is a moment of trusting in God's direction, even when you can't see every step in front of you. Consider Moses, who as a young man was raised in Pharaoh's palace but later fled Egypt in fear after he killed an Egyptian. For years he lived as a shepherd in the wilderness, seemingly far removed from the grand calling God had for him. However, when God spoke to him from the burning bush, Exodus 3, Moses received a divine revelation of his purpose to lead the Israelites out of slavery in Egypt. This was a significant turning point in Moses' life, and while he initially questioned his ability to fulfill such a calling, he later trusted in God's power and guidance. Moses didn't understand his full purpose at the time he was growing up in Egypt. It was only through time reflection and divine intervention that he began to understand the deeper purpose God had for him. This process of gradual revelation is key to how God often works. He leads us step by step, revealing the full picture only when we are ready. Another powerful example is Esther, a young Jewish woman who became the queen of Persia. At first, she did not know that her purpose would be to save her people from destruction. But when Mordecai, her cousin, challenged her with the words, "Who knows, but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this?" Esther 4:1-4. Esther realized that her place in the palace was not just a random occurrence. God had placed her there for a divine purpose. Esther's story shows how sometimes our true purpose is revealed only after we step into certain circumstances, and even when we face uncertainty, God is leading us toward that purpose. Through faith and courage, Esther stepped into her calling, trusting that God was with her. As we look at Moses and Esther, we see that clarity about God's calling often comes over time as we grow in faith and continue to walk in obedience. The divine purpose for our lives is not always immediately clear, but through faithfulness, God reveals it bit by bit. Faithfulness in the small things leads to greater understanding of the bigger purpose. As we remain obedient and trust in God's plan, we begin to see the pieces fall into place. This understanding of purpose often comes when we are faithfully pursuing God's will, even if the road ahead seems unclear. The more we seek God through prayer, scripture, and action, the more He reveals to us. We may not understand the entirety of our purpose, but by aligning ourselves with His will, we move toward a fuller understanding of what we were created for. Stepping into your divine destiny is a gradual process that begins with a deepening sense of purpose. The signs of this shift include a growing conviction about your calling, a sense of alignment with God's will, and the realization that, like Moses and Esther, your life is part of a bigger plan. As you walk in faith, God will continue to reveal His purpose for you, piece by piece, as you trust Him and remain faithful to His calling. As you step into your divine destiny, it's not just your external circumstances that will shift, but also the relationships around you. The people in your life who were once significant or who seemed to align with your past might begin to fade away. This is not necessarily a negative development, but rather a divine intervention that clears the way for new relationships that are more aligned with your purpose. These shifts are part of God's plan for you as He begins to prepare you for the next season in your life. Relationships are deeply influential, and as you move closer to your divine calling, you may find that some people are no longer able to support or understand the direction God is taking you. As you grow in faith and start to step into your God-given purpose, God may allow or even cause certain relationships to evolve or fade away so that you can align yourself with those who will propel you toward your destiny. In the same way that God separates you from old habits, He may also separate you from relationships that are not conducive to your spiritual growth. These changes are often subtle at first but become more noticeable over time. They are a sign that you are moving toward the life God has specifically designed for you, and that He is removing the distractions and influences that could hinder your progress. One of the first signs that you are entering a season of divine destiny is the increased conflict with people who no longer align with your purpose. As you grow and change, those who were once close to you may not understand or accept the direction your life is taking. You might feel misunderstood, judged, or even isolated by people who once supported you. This conflict is often a sign that you are beginning to move into new areas where your old relationships can no longer thrive. It's not necessarily about anything negative in the relationship itself, but rather about the fact that your calling and the purpose God has for you are different from the paths of those around you. It's important to recognize that this kind of friction doesn't mean that you've done anything wrong. It simply means that your divine journey is pulling you in a new direction, and some relationships will naturally shift or fall away. As old relationships shift, you may begin to experience a fresh influx of new connections, mentors, friends, and partners who share the same vision, or who can help guide you toward your divine calling. These people will be sent by God to help you walk in your purpose. You might meet someone who shares your values, someone who challenges you to grow, or someone who inspires you to keep moving forward. These new relationships will serve to reinforce your sense of purpose, offering support, wisdom, and encouragement as you continue to step into the life God has prepared for you. These mentors or friends may help you stay grounded in your calling, offering guidance when you feel uncertain or need direction. Trust that the people God brings into your life during this season will be significant to your journey. They are part of God's plan for you, helping to shape you into who you are meant to become. The story of David and King Saul is an excellent example of how relationships can shift as one steps into their divine destiny. David, who was once a servant to King Saul, was anointed by God to become the next king of Israel. At first, Saul was supportive of David, but as David's destiny unfolded and he became more successful, Saul's jealousy and fear grew. Saul sought to kill David, forcing him to flee. David's relationship with Saul evolved dramatically from a servant under King Saul's leadership to a fugitive running for his life. This shift in their relationship was a result of David moving into his divine calling as the future king of Israel. It was painful for David, but it was necessary for him to step into the role that God had prepared for him. The separation from Saul was a difficult but necessary part of David's preparation for kingship. Sometimes, as we move toward our destiny, we may find ourselves experiencing a similar shift in relationships. What once felt secure or comforting can become difficult and strained. These shifts, although painful, often push us toward God's plan for our lives and help us grow into the person He has destined us to be. Throughout His ministry, Jesus often experienced times of separation from His family and friends. In Mark 3:1-35, when His mother and brothers came looking for Him, Jesus responded, "Who are my mother and my brothers? Whoever does God's will is my brother and sister and mother." Jesus was not rejecting His family, but He was making it clear that His divine mission took priority over earthly relationships. Jesus' purpose was so great that it required Him to focus on God's plan above all else, even if it meant being misunderstood by those closest to Him. Similarly, as we step into our divine destiny, we may have to prioritize our calling and spiritual growth, even if it means separating ourselves from family or friends who don't understand or support the direction we are going. Jesus also experienced moments when He withdrew from the crowds to spend time alone with God, such as in the wilderness or during moments of prayer. Luke 5:1-6. These times of solitude were essential for Him to maintain His connection with His Father and to stay focused on His purpose. As we step into our divine destiny, we too may find that we need moments of solitude to recalibrate, recharge, and refocus on the path God has set before us. The shift in personal relationships is an important sign that you are entering a season of divine destiny. As you move forward in alignment with God's will, you may experience a natural separation from relationships that no longer serve your purpose. While these shifts can be painful, they are a vital part of God's process to refine and strengthen you for the life He has called you to live. Trust that the relationships God brings into your life during this time are divinely appointed, and they will support you in fulfilling your divine purpose. Stay faithful, trust in God's timing, and remain open to the new connections and opportunities that He is placing before you. One of the most compelling signs that you're entering your divine season is an internal, unsettling urge to move forward. It's a feeling that begins to build within you, a deep, almost constant restlessness that stirs you to step into something new, despite the discomfort. This inner stirring is often a divine prompting, pushing you out of your comfort zone and into the unknown. Though this feeling may feel unsettling and uncomfortable, it is a necessary part of the process of stepping into God's divine destiny for your life. You might notice that, even though you have a seemingly comfortable or stable situation, there's an internal sense of dissatisfaction. It's as if something deep within you is saying, "There's more for you." This is not just discontent for the sake of discontent, but a holy dissatisfaction, a pull toward the new opportunities and growth that God is calling you to. It is a divine nudge to leave behind what is familiar and take that first step toward what God has planned for you. The internal restlessness may manifest in various forms. You may feel a nagging sense that you're meant for more, that your current circumstances are not aligned with the greater purpose you sense God is calling you to. This feeling is often accompanied by a sense of urgency, not just to change, but to step forward in faith. Though the path ahead may be unclear, this internal urge will compel you to move, and the more you resist, the more unsettled you may feel. One of the first signs that you are entering your divine season is an increasing sense of discomfort with your current situation. It's not dissatisfaction rooted in a worldly desire for more wealth, fame, or status, but rather an inner prompting that tells you your purpose is bigger than where you are right now. You may find yourself reflecting on your life, questioning your choices, and wondering if you are truly living in alignment with God's will. This dissatisfaction isn't a call to abandon your responsibilities or everything you've built, but it's a call to move beyond the limitations of the present and take a leap of faith into the unknown. This restlessness can also occur when you've reached a point in your life where you feel like you've plateaued spiritually or personally. You've grown, but you sense that God has more for you. It's during these times that the divine push becomes louder, urging you to step into the next phase of growth. Alongside the discomfort of being stuck in the status quo, you will begin to experience an internal pull to act. It's almost as if you can't help it, this urging to move forward despite the uncertainties that lie ahead. God's calling doesn't always come with a detailed blueprint. Instead, it often asks for obedience in the face of uncertainty. This divine push may compel you to take a step without knowing exactly what the outcome will be, trusting God's leading even when the path is unclear. It's in these moments that faith becomes essential. The urge to step forward despite the lack of clear direction is a test of trust. You may not see all the pieces of the puzzle, but God's call to move forward requires you to trust that He will reveal His purpose as you walk in obedience. Even though the unknown can be intimidating, it is in these moments that you experience God's faithfulness as you step into your destiny. One of the most significant examples of this divine urge to step forward is found in the story of Abraham. In Genesis 12, God calls Abraham to leave his home, his family, and everything familiar to him. God didn't give Abraham a detailed roadmap of what would happen or where he would end up. He simply told him to go, saying, "Go to the land I will show you." This call to move forward into the unknown required tremendous faith and obedience on Abraham's part. Imagine Abraham's feelings. He was about to leave everything he knew, take a risk, and follow God without knowing exactly where he was going. It's that same internal urging, that feeling of divine discontent that led Abraham to step into the unknown. He felt a pull, a nudge, to step into God's promise. And as Abraham took that step, God revealed His greater plan and purpose, ultimately making Abraham the father of many nations. Like Abraham, we too are often called to leave behind our comfort zones. Whether it's a job, a relationship, or a place we've been familiar with, the call to move forward can come with discomfort and uncertainty. But it's through this obedience that we step into the fullness of God's plan. Another powerful example of stepping forward in faith is the story of Peter walking on water in Matthew 1:4-22-33. When the disciples saw Jesus walking on water, Peter was the only one who had the courage to ask Jesus, "Lord, if it's you, tell me to come to you on the water." Jesus replied, "Come." Despite the storm and the waves, Peter stepped out of the boat, walking toward Jesus. Peter's faith was tested. The boat represented safety, security, and the familiar, while the water represented the unknown and the impossible. Yet Peter was compelled to step forward, even when the situation seemed impossible. Peter's courage to move toward Jesus despite the storm is an embodiment of what it looks like to respond to God's urging, even when it's uncomfortable and uncertain. This story is a reminder that faith often calls us to step out of what is comfortable and to walk toward God in the midst of uncertainty. Just as Peter trusted Jesus to sustain him, we can trust that God will be there to uphold us as we move forward in faith. Entering a season of divine destiny often involves an unsettling yet compelling urge to step forward. It is an inner restlessness, a deep discontent with the status quo that draws you closer to the next phase of God's plan for your life. Like Abraham and Peter, we are called to leave behind the familiar, trusting in God's guidance as we step into the unknown. This season is not just a time of change, but a time of spiritual growth and obedience to God's call. Trust the urge to move forward and embrace the divine purpose God is unfolding for you. When you step into a season of divine destiny, one of the most notable signs is the increase in opposition or challenges. While we may expect that the path to fulfilling God's purpose will be smooth, often it is marked by trials, resistance, and obstacles. The reason for this is simple. When you are aligned with God's plan and walking in your divine purpose, the enemy will seek to oppose you. This opposition is a natural part of the spiritual journey and can often serve as confirmation that you are on the right track. In the spiritual realm, when God begins to move in your life, the enemy takes notice. His goal is to derail you from your destiny, sow doubt, and cause fear and confusion. However, these challenges, although difficult, are often the very tools God uses to refine and strengthen you. They serve to build character, faith, and perseverance. While the opposition can seem discouraging in the moment, it is ultimately a sign that you are stepping into the divine destiny that God has prepared for you. It's important to understand that opposition is not an indication that you are on the wrong path, but rather that you are moving in the right direction. As you grow in your faith and purpose, the enemy will try to prevent your progress. But God uses those challenges to shape you, teach you, and prepare you for greater things. One of the clearest signs that you're entering your season of divine destiny is when you begin to face challenges that test your faith and perseverance. These challenges may come in the form of setbacks, delays, or unexpected changes that disrupt your plans. At times it may seem like everything is working against you, and you might question whether you're truly walking in God's will. These obstacles often serve as a test to see if you will remain committed to your calling, even in the face of adversity. Will you continue to trust in God's plan, even when things seem difficult? The stronger the resistance, the greater the potential for growth, as these struggles refine your character and deepen your trust in God's faithfulness. As you step closer to God's calling for your life, you may encounter resistance from both external forces and internal doubts. External resistance could come in many forms. People who doubt your abilities, criticism from others, or even circumstances that seem to block your progress. Internal doubts often manifest as feelings of inadequacy or fear of failure. These voices, both external and internal, seek to pull you away from your purpose and convince you to turn back. The key to overcoming this opposition is to keep your eyes fixed on God and His promises. When the resistance becomes stronger, it is often an indication that you are nearing something great. The enemy wants to discourage you, but God's promise of victory over opposition remains true. Do not be discouraged by the challenges. Instead, let them be a reminder that God is with you and that He is refining you through the fire. One of the clearest biblical examples of facing opposition on the way to divine destiny is the story of Joseph in the book of Genesis. Joseph was chosen by God for a great purpose, but his journey was anything but easy. He was sold into slavery by his own brothers, falsely accused by Potiphar's wife, and thrown into prison. These challenges were not signs that Joseph was on the wrong path. They were part of God's divine plan to prepare him for greatness. Each step of Joseph's journey, though filled with hardship, was moving him closer to the fulfillment of God's promise to make him a ruler in Egypt. In Genesis 5:20, Joseph himself reflects on the adversity he faced, saying, "You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good, to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives." Despite the intense opposition, Joseph's perseverance, faith, and trust in God allowed him to rise to the position that God had destined for him. His challenges were the stepping stones to his ultimate purpose. Another powerful example of opposition in the life of a chosen individual is the Apostle Paul. Throughout his ministry, Paul faced countless obstacles, including imprisonment, beatings, shipwrecks, and betrayals. Despite the severe opposition he encountered, Paul remained steadfast in his calling to spread the gospel. In 2 Corinthians 4:8-9, Paul writes, "We are hard-pressed on every side but not crushed, perplexed but not in despair, persecuted but not abandoned, struck down but not destroyed." His faith in God's purpose for his life remained unshaken, even in the midst of immense hardships. Paul's opposition didn't deter him. Instead, it reaffirmed his calling and strengthened his resolve. His trials became the very platform for God to demonstrate his power and faithfulness. As Paul faced adversity, he became a living testimony of how God's grace is sufficient and how his power is made perfect in weakness. 2 Corinthians 1:2-9. Through his struggles, Paul's impact on the early church and his role in spreading the gospel were solidified. If you find yourself facing significant opposition or challenges as you move forward in your journey, take heart. It is not a sign that you are on the wrong path. Rather, it may be a confirmation that you are entering your season of divine destiny. God uses opposition to strengthen you, to refine you, and to prepare you for the greater purpose he has in store. It is through overcoming these trials that you gain the experience, faith, and resilience necessary to fulfill God's plan for your life. Remember, as you encounter challenges, rely on God's strength and keep trusting in his promises. Like Joseph and Paul, you are being shaped for something far greater than you can imagine. Even when the road gets tough, know that God is with you, guiding you through the opposition and leading you to your divine purpose. Opposition is not an indication that you are on the wrong path, but rather a sign that you are moving toward your divine destiny. The challenges you face will only serve to prepare you for what God has planned for you. Stay steadfast in your faith, trust God's plan, and keep moving forward, knowing that no weapon formed against you will prosper. You are destined for greatness, and God is using every challenge to refine you and position you for his glory. Keep your eyes on the prize and embrace the journey with confidence and faith. When entering a season of divine destiny, one of the most noticeable signs is how God aligns opportunities with your purpose. It may seem as though out of nowhere, doors start opening that perfectly align with your gifts, talents, and calling. These opportunities are not random or coincidental. They are divinely orchestrated. Sometimes these doors open unexpectedly, and other times they are the result of years of preparation, prayer, and perseverance. Either way, they serve as clear signs that you are moving into the season God has prepared for you. God, in his sovereignty, opens doors that lead to growth, purpose, and fulfillment. As you step into your divine destiny, you will find that these opportunities are not just chance encounters, but they are specifically placed to lead you toward your purpose. When doors begin to open in this way, it's a sign that God is at work in your life, confirming that you are walking in alignment with his plan. The opening of these doors may feel miraculous or like a confirmation of the hard work and dedication you've put into your life. It may also feel like a turning point, where what once seemed out of reach is now accessible. Regardless of how it happens, the common thread is that these doors are aligned with God's will for your life, and they lead you towards something greater. One of the clearest signs of divine alignment is when opportunities begin to present themselves that perfectly match your skills, experiences, and passions. These are not mere coincidences, but God's way of guiding you toward the path he has set for you. For instance, you may have been working hard in a particular area, building your expertise, and then out of the blue, an opportunity emerges that requires exactly what you have to offer. It could be a job opportunity, a connection with a mentor, or an open door to a new project that aligns with your talents. When these opportunities arise, they are often accompanied by a sense of confirmation, like a deep knowing that this is the moment you've been preparing for. It's not just about being in the right place at the right time. It's about God in his perfect timing bringing the right opportunities to you. These alignments are divine confirmations that you are stepping into your purpose. Clear signs that God is opening doors for you. Sometimes in miraculous ways, sometimes divine alignment feels almost miraculous. You may find yourself in a place you never expected to be, surrounded by people or opportunities that seem divinely designed for you. These moments often carry a sense of awe, as if God himself has orchestrated the details to bring you to this point. These open doors may come after seasons of waiting, prayer, or even struggle. You may have faced setbacks or uncertainty, only for God to open a door that makes everything fall into place. It's important to recognize these moments for what they are, answers to prayer and signs that you are moving forward in God's plan. They often come with confirmation, such as an unexpected connection, a sudden breakthrough, or an opportunity that comes exactly at the right time. These open doors should not be taken for granted, as they signify God's perfect timing in your life. A powerful example of divine alignment with opportunities is the story of Nehemiah in the Old Testament. Nehemiah was a cupbearer to the Persian king Artaxerxes. When he learned that the walls of Jerusalem were in ruins, he felt called to rebuild the walls, but this task seemed daunting, especially because Jerusalem was under Persian rule. Yet, when Nehemiah prayed and sought God's favor, God opened the door for him. In Nehemiah 2:4-8, we see how Nehemiah was granted favor by the king, who not only allowed him to return to Jerusalem but also provided resources for the rebuilding effort. Nehemiah's opportunity was divinely orchestrated, from being in the right place at the right time, to receiving favor from the king, to having the resources needed to complete the task. This was a clear example of God aligning an opportunity with Nehemiah's purpose, even though it came after years of waiting in prayer. Nehemiah's story teaches us that God can open doors in ways that may seem unlikely, but when it's aligned with His purpose, nothing can stand in the way. Just as Nehemiah was called to rebuild the walls of Jerusalem, God has appointed opportunities for each of us to fulfill our divine calling. Another example of divine alignment is the story of Ruth, a young widow who, after losing her husband, decided to stay with her mother-in-law, Naomi, and journey back to Israel. Ruth's decision led her to glean in the fields of Boaz, a wealthy relative of Naomi's. What appeared to be a mere act of kindness, Ruth gleaning in Boaz's field, was actually part of God's divine plan for her life. Ruth 2:3 says, "So she went out, entered a field, and began to glean behind the harvesters." As it turned out, she was working in a field belonging to Boaz, who was from the clan of Elimelech. The timing of Ruth's actions, the field she ended up in, and the meeting with Boaz were all divinely orchestrated. This divine connection led to Ruth becoming the wife of Boaz, and eventually the great-grandmother of King David, from whose lineage Jesus Christ would be born. Ruth's story is a beautiful example of divine alignment, where seemingly simple decisions and actions were part of God's greater plan. It teaches us that God often aligns opportunities with our purpose, and even our moments of uncertainty or ordinary steps can lead us to divine opportunities. In this season of stepping into your divine destiny, be attentive to the opportunities that begin to emerge. These doors are not mere accidents. They are God's way of guiding you toward your purpose. Keep an open heart and mind to the ways God aligns your path with your calling. As you walk through these doors, trust that they are part of His divine plan for your life. Just as God opened doors for Nehemiah and Ruth, He is opening doors for you too. Embrace these opportunities with faith, knowing that they are leading you toward your God-ordained future. Entering your divine destiny is often accompanied by a profound shift in your spiritual life. As you move closer to God's plan for your life, there is a natural progression toward a deeper relationship with Him. This season marks the moment when God draws you closer to Himself, and you begin to experience a heightened sense of spiritual awareness and direction. You may feel more connected to Him, more attuned to His voice, and more willing to walk in obedience to His calling. As you step into your purpose, your spiritual growth accelerates. You find yourself desiring more of God's presence, more of His guidance, and more of His wisdom. This season is not just about doing, it's about being in deeper communion with God. You may begin to notice a stronger desire for prayer, a passion for reading His Word, and a more profound hunger for worship. This sense of spiritual awareness leads you to seek Him more fervently, drawing nearer to His heart. In many ways, this heightened awareness is an indication that God is preparing you to carry out His plan in a more significant way. As you align with your divine destiny, you also align with God's greater will for your life. You will begin to experience a deeper understanding of your calling and the clarity to follow His direction with more confidence and trust. Your relationship with God will become the foundation upon which you build your life's work as you lean on Him for strength, guidance, and purpose. One of the most evident signs that you are entering a new level of spiritual awareness is an increased passion for prayer, scripture, reading, and worship. These practices become less of a routine and more of a deep personal connection with God. Prayer no longer feels like an obligation but a privilege, where you feel God's presence and communicate with Him more intimately. Scripture begins to come alive with verses speaking directly to your situation, offering wisdom and insight that resonates deeply within you. Worship becomes a channel through which you connect to God's heart. You may experience worship in a new way, feeling God's Spirit more strongly as you lift your voice and heart to Him. This growing hunger for spiritual practices is a sign that God is preparing your heart for greater things and drawing you nearer to His will. As you step into your divine destiny, you will begin to notice God's presence in a more tangible way. You may start to see how God is working in your life through the small details, guiding your decisions, opening doors and closing others. There is an increased awareness of His presence, whether through the beauty of nature, the people around you, or moments of quiet reflection. You begin to feel that God is with you every step of the way, leading and guiding you with purpose. This awareness brings clarity and peace, especially when navigating the challenges and uncertainties of life. It becomes easier to discern God's voice and His direction, and you begin to see how He is aligning circumstances to help you fulfill your divine purpose. You may experience a deeper sense of peace, knowing that even in difficult times, God is with you, guiding you toward the fulfillment of His plan. One of the most profound examples of a new level of spiritual awareness in the Bible is Moses' encounter with God in the burning bush. In Exodus 3:1-6, Moses, while tending to his flock, notices a bush that burns without being consumed. When he approaches, God calls out to him, revealing His presence and His plan for Moses' life. This moment marked the beginning of Moses' divine mission to free the Israelites from Egypt, a task that would require great faith, obedience, and trust in God. Before this encounter, Moses was a man in exile, uncertain of his purpose. But when God called him through the burning bush, Moses was awakened to his divine destiny. This encounter brought spiritual awareness to a whole new level, and Moses was not only chosen for this mission but was also given the spiritual clarity and confidence needed to follow God's instructions. God's call to Moses in the burning bush demonstrates that as we step into our divine purpose, we too experience moments of spiritual awakening that bring us clarity and direction. Just as Moses felt the presence of God, we can experience His nearness, revealing our purpose and calling in powerful ways. Another biblical example of spiritual awakening is seen in the life of Daniel. In the book of Daniel, especially in chapters 7-12, we see Daniel receiving divine revelations and visions that helped guide him and Israel through times of great trial. Daniel was a faithful servant, but God began to reveal deeper truths to him as he moved into his divine destiny. Through dreams and visions, Daniel received knowledge about future events and insight into God's will, which positioned him to play a key role in God's plan for the nation. Daniel's spiritual awareness was heightened as he stepped into his divine calling. His visions were not just for his benefit but were meant to serve a greater purpose, as they provided guidance for the people of Israel during times of uncertainty. Daniel's story teaches us that as we grow in our spiritual awareness, God reveals more of His will to us, helping us navigate our purpose with greater understanding and wisdom. A new level of spiritual awareness is a powerful sign that you are entering a season of divine destiny. As you experience a deeper connection with God and a heightened awareness of His presence, you will find that your purpose becomes clearer and your path more defined. Like Moses and Daniel, God will reveal Himself in new ways, guiding you toward your calling with more clarity and confidence. This spiritual growth allows you to step forward boldly into the future. God has prepared for you, equipped with the faith, wisdom, and guidance needed to fulfill His plan. As you step into your divine purpose, you will often feel a sense of divine empowerment, a deep assurance that God is equipping you with everything necessary to fulfill His calling for your life. This empowerment isn't just about natural talent or personal strength, it's about God's supernatural intervention and guidance, giving you what you need at the right time. God in His wisdom knows the challenges you will face, and He prepares you for them by empowering you spiritually, mentally, and emotionally. In the moments when you feel inadequate or unqualified to take the next step, God's empowerment becomes evident. You will begin to notice an increased sense of confidence, new strengths, unexpected wisdom, and a surge of courage that you might not have recognized in yourself before. This empowerment doesn't always come in the form of instant results, but it builds steadily as you move forward in faith, knowing that God is strengthening you for the work He has set before you. This empowerment could come in the form of new skills, where you develop abilities that you didn't know you had. You might find yourself gaining wisdom beyond your years, or an unexpected ability to communicate with others or lead in ways you hadn't before. It could also come in the form of emotional and spiritual strength, where you feel more resilient in the face of setbacks, trusting that God is with you every step of the way. A major sign of empowerment is feeling a new sense of confidence in the steps you are taking, even if they take you outside your comfort zone. You begin to act with boldness and clarity, knowing that God is leading you and that His strength is made perfect in your weakness. 2 Corinthians 1:9. While stepping out in faith may still feel intimidating, you begin to recognize that your confidence doesn't come from your own abilities but from God's presence and power within you. As you walk in your calling, you may take actions that once seemed impossible. Whether it's starting a new project, taking on a leadership role, or addressing challenges that once seemed insurmountable, you start to feel equipped to handle whatever comes your way. This confidence is not rooted in arrogance, but in the firm belief that God is with you and that He will provide the wisdom and strength you need. Along with a boost in confidence comes a renewed sense of purpose. As you move forward, the direction and mission God has set for you become clearer, and you begin to feel a deep sense of fulfillment and alignment with His will. This sense of purpose strengthens you to keep going even when things get difficult or when doubts arise. You understand that your steps are part of a bigger picture, and you're empowered to continue because you know your work is meaningful. In this season, you feel an increased awareness of your abilities and talents, and you recognize how they are being used for God's glory. Even in moments of hardship, you begin to see obstacles as opportunities for growth and a way to fulfill your divine purpose. With each step forward, your sense of purpose is strengthened, and your confidence in God's plan for you grows. Another clear sign that you are empowered by God is an increasing ability to overcome obstacles that once seemed insurmountable. As you walk in your divine destiny, you begin to develop spiritual endurance and resilience. What would have once defeated you or caused you to turn back now serves as a stepping stone toward your purpose. The challenges and setbacks that arise in your journey are no longer seen as barriers, but as opportunities for God's power to be made manifest in your life. You begin to rely more heavily on God's strength, knowing that with God, all things are possible. Matthew 1:9-6. Every victory, big or small, builds your faith and empowers you to face the next challenge with even more courage. You might not have all the answers or a clear roadmap for your journey, but you trust that God is with you and will equip you as needed, one step at a time. One of the most iconic examples of divine empowerment comes from the story of David and Goliath, 1 Samuel 17. David, a young shepherd boy, was chosen by God to face the giant warrior Goliath, who had terrified the armies of Israel. Though David was small in stature and lacked conventional weaponry, he was empowered by God to defeat the giant. David's confidence wasn't in his own abilities but in the power of God. He declared, "The Lord who delivered me from the paw of the lion and the paw of the bear will deliver me from the hand of this Philistine." 1 Samuel 1:7-7. This story serves as a powerful reminder that when we step into our divine calling, we may be faced with giants, obstacles that seem too large to overcome. But just as God empowered David with courage, wisdom, and strength, He will do the same for us. The empowerment that David experienced enabled him to face a daunting situation with unwavering faith and confidence. In the same way, God empowers His chosen ones to face life's giants and walk in victory. Another example of divine empowerment is seen in the lives of the apostles in the New Testament. After Jesus' death and resurrection, the apostles were commissioned to spread the gospel to all nations, a task that seemed impossible given the opposition they faced. Yet they were empowered by the Holy Spirit to perform miracles, preach boldly, and endure persecution for the sake of the gospel. In Acts 2, the apostles were filled with the Holy Spirit at Pentecost, enabling them to speak in different tongues and boldly proclaim the message of Jesus Christ. Despite being threatened by authorities and facing trials, the apostles were unwavering in their mission. Their empowerment from God gave them the strength to carry out their divine purpose, and through their obedience and faith, they turned the world upside down for the kingdom of God. As you step into your divine destiny, God will equip you with everything you need to fulfill His calling. You may not always feel ready or equipped, but rest assured that God's empowerment is always present. He gives you the confidence, wisdom, strength, and perseverance to overcome obstacles and walk in the fullness of your purpose. Just as David was empowered to defeat Goliath, and the apostles were empowered to change the world, you too will be empowered to live out your calling with boldness and faith. Remember that God has a unique purpose for your life, and He will equip you every step of the way. Trust in His plan, lean on His strength, and step forward with confidence, knowing that His empowerment is what will carry you through. As we've discussed, stepping into your season of divine destiny comes with several key signs. These signs may include a deepening sense of purpose, shifts in personal relationships, a restless urge to move forward, and even increased opposition or challenges. It's essential to recognize that while these signs may not always be immediate or obvious, they are God's way of preparing you for something greater. God's call often leads us through seasons of growth, discomfort, and transformation. Even when things seem unclear or uncertain, these signs are invitations to trust in His plan for your life. Embrace the process and understand that God is guiding you toward your divine purpose, step by step. I encourage you to take a moment to reflect on your current season. What signs are you experiencing that could be pointing you toward your divine calling? Are there areas of your life where you feel a shift or a new sense of purpose? Have you noticed challenges arising that may be shaping your character and preparing you for greater things? As you reflect, I challenge you to step forward in faith. Even if the road ahead is unclear or intimidating, trust that God is leading you into the fullness of your destiny. When you move forward in faith, God will equip you with everything you need to fulfill your calling. God has a unique purpose for each one of us. Stepping into that purpose requires trust, faith, and perseverance. While the journey may not always be easy, know that God's plan is always greater than we can imagine. When you step into your divine season, you can rest assured that God will provide the strength, wisdom, and courage you need to fulfill your destiny. If this message resonated with you, I encourage you to take the next step in your journey by reflecting on your calling and trusting God in the process. If you found this video helpful, please like, share, and subscribe for more messages on how to walk in your divine purpose. And feel free to leave a comment. I'd love to hear how God is working in your life and how you're stepping into your destiny. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.